Ghana's gold rush.
Yeah.
We hear that phrase tossed around a lot, but what's actually going on behind the scenes? I mean, in this deep dive, we're going to go deeper. We're going to go beyond just the headlines and uncover some of the power plays, like all the complex decisions, the stuff that's shaping the future of mining in Ghana.
Yeah, it's a fascinating world. It's a lot more than just like rocks and minerals. It gets into like economic development, environmental responsibilities, the delicate balance between the two.
So we're really lucky to get this fresh perspective from 2025, this article we're diving into. And it features Dr. Tony Aubynn, who really knows this world.
Oh, I knows it inside and out.
It does. He's not just an expert. He's been a former CEO of Ghana's Chamber of Mines and their Minerals Commission.
He's seen it all, from boardroom negotiations to on-the-ground reality. And I think he has a lot to say, especially about the new president, John Dramani Mahama, and Mahama's vision for a more, I guess what they call it, a more responsible and sustainable mining industry.
Yeah. So I know you're probably thinking, like, Ghana's mining industry, why do I care?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The choices they're making, they're having ripple effects. Like, they reach way beyond just Ghana's borders. We're talking global markets, environmental impacts, people's lives. Trust me, this is one you want to hear.
Yeah, and the article, it kicks off with Mahama's vision, talking about responsible, sustainable mining that benefits everyone, even the environment. But those words, like responsible, sustainable, they get thrown around a lot.
Yeah, and like, what do they actually mean in practice? Especially in an industry like this. Mining, it's so complex. You have so many competing interests.
Exactly. Like, let's say, what if there's a mining project and it could bring jobs and revenue to a community that really needs it, but it also involves like clearing a forest, So then how do you weigh those needs? How do you balance economic benefit with environmental protection? That's the real question at the heart of this whole responsible mining idea.
And Dr. Aubynn seems to think that Mahama's taking this seriously, especially based on the team he's putting together. The article even calls the cabinet picks solid and formidable, particularly the ones related to mining.
I think that choice of words really suggests confidence, maybe even some excitement from Dr. Aubynn. Like, he sees these appointments as a sign that Mahama's ready, ready to make some changes right away. He's ready to hit the ground running, especially with mining reform. It feels like a sense of urgency. Like he wants to show that he's serious about change. What do you think?
Yeah, I think a speedy cabinet selection, it really signals that they're prioritizing this. But it's not just the speed. It's who he picked. These aren't just random appointees. They're people known for their expertise and their strong opinions. So it's like he's assembling a team of heavy hitters to tackle these challenges.
And one of those is like the mining licenses, because there were all these rumors that Mahama was going to revoke all the licenses, all the ones granted by the previous government.
Whoa, that would have been a huge shakeup. Can you imagine all the fallout from that?
Right. But Dr. Aubynn clarifies that it's not all mining licenses, just the ones granted under a specific law, LI 2462, which allowed mining in areas that are like environmentally sensitive.
Okay, so this license controversy seems like it has some major political consequences. Can you unpack that a little bit? Like, why is this such a sensitive issue? And what's so bad about LI 2462 anyway?
Well, imagine like areas that are vital, like river bodies, forest reserves, and they open those up to mining. They're really vulnerable to pollution and damage from mining. So LI 2462, by allowing that in those sensitive areas, it raised a lot of flags for environmentalists. So Mahama, by targeting licenses granted under that law, he's signaling a shift in priorities, like a clear message that he's taking environmental concerns seriously, but that has political implications too.
So he's walking a tightrope. He wants to appease the environmental groups and show his commitment to responsible mining, but at the same time, he might be undermining his political rivals.
Right, and then on top of that, you have illegal mining, Galamsey, which brings a whole other set of challenges.
Right. So you have Mahama. He's trying to control large-scale mining through these licenses. But then you have this whole other problem, the illegal small-scale mining, which Dr. Aubynn seems to think can be tackled without, like, destroying people's livelihoods.
Yeah, and that's what's so interesting, because it highlights this real tension in this whole mining conversation. On one hand, you have the economic needs of people who rely on mining, a lot of times small-scale or informal, for their income. But then you have the environmental damage that those activities can cause.
Yeah, it feels like a no-win. How do you address the environmental problem, but not take away livelihoods? It's tough.
It is, and Dr. Aubynn seems to think it's possible. He points to some initiatives, like Blue Water and Tree for Life, add examples of how to do this. They're designed to restore areas damaged by mining, but they also focus on job creation. So it's about finding a way to help people transition into new jobs, new sustainable livelihoods, and at the same time, fixing the environmental harm.
So how effective can something like that really be? Is it even possible to restore a place after it's been mined?
I mean, that's the million-dollar question. And there's no easy answer. It depends. The scale of the damage, the types of mining, the resources they have to restore it. And really importantly, you need buy-in from the community. You can't just come in with a top-down solution. The people who live there, they understand the land, they need to be a part of it.
And Dr. Aubynn seems to be a big believer in that, stakeholder engagement. And he's not just talking about governments and big mining companies. He means local communities, workers, environmental groups.
It speaks to a broader shift in how we think about mining. It's not okay anymore to just extract resources and leave behind environmental and social problems. We need to do it in a way that benefits everyone, or at least minimizes the harm. And to do that, you have to bring everyone to the table, governments, companies, communities, NGOs, and have the tough conversations.
But how do you get all people
to agree? It's not easy. There are going to be disagreements and competing priorities, but there are models out there for how to do this. One that comes to mind is the Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, EITI. It's a global standard that promotes transparency and accountability for managing natural resources.
Sounds good in theory, but does it actually work?
It's not a magic bullet. In some places, it's worked better than others, but it provides a framework for dialogue and information sharing. Countries using EIT, they commit to disclosing information, things like mining contracts, revenue payments, social and environmental impacts, all that transparency. It helps citizens hold their governments and companies accountable.
So it's like you're making sure everything's above board.
Exactly. And Ghana has actually been part of EITI since 2003, so they've been working on this for a while. Dr. Aubynn has been a big supporter. He thinks it's helped a lot with governance and reducing corruption.
That's good. But even with all that, all this talk of responsible mining and transparency, there are still going to be challenges, like we talked about earlier. The Galamsey, illegal small-scale mining. Dr. Aubynn is optimistic. But I don't know, it seems like such a tough problem.
It's super complex, and it's more than just law enforcement. You need to know why people do it. Galamsey. It's poverty, lack of opportunity. A lot of times, it's their only option.
So if you just crack down and don't give people other options, it could backfire.
Exactly. You're not going to solve it by arresting people. You need other options for them. Education, training, better law enforcement, but fair law enforcement.
And you need to work with the communities. Not against them. This reminds me of I read this book, but conservation and indigenous communities sometimes, even when you're trying to do the right thing, if you don't think about the people it affects, there can be consequences.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it brings up something really important, the history, the social context of mining in Ghana. It's not just rocks and minerals. We're talking about colonialism, exploitation. It affects the industry today.
So like neocolonialism, where powerful nations and corporations are still benefiting at the expense of developing countries.
It's complex. There are arguments on both sides, but it's worth talking about. And Dr. Aubynn doesn't shy away from it. He says that Ghana hasn't always benefited from its mineral wealth.
Man, this deep dive is getting deep. Global economics, environmental justice, colonialism.
It's all connected. That's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot. We went from cabinet appointments to illegal mining to colonialism, all in the context of gold. Ghana's gold.
And it all comes back to, you know, that question we asked at the beginning, why should anyone care about Ghana's mining industry?
Right, because this isn't just some abstract idea. This affects all of us.
Think about it. Your phone, your computer, your car, they all have minerals in them, mined somewhere, maybe Ghana.
So the choices they're making, the regulations, the impact on communities, it all matters.
It does. We're all connected to this industry, whether we realize it or not. So we have a responsibility to understand what's happening, to be good consumers, and advocate for better practices.
Okay, so what can we do? This all seems so big. Can we even make a difference?
I know it's easy to feel overwhelmed, but I think even small things help. We can be more aware. Like when you buy electronics, do some research. Look for companies that care about responsible sourcing, companies that are transparent.
So like voting with our wallets.
Exactly, and it makes a difference. When consumers demand better, companies notice.
What else can we do besides just like
shopping smarter?
You can support organizations that are trying to make a difference in mining. There are a lot of good NGOs out there, like Global Witness or the Natural Resource Governance Institute. They're pushing for better rules, better enforcement, more community involvement.
And we can educate ourselves. The more we know, the better we can advocate. Right. Knowledge is power to demand better for the workers, for the communities, and for the planet.
This has been really eye-opening. We just scratched the surface. But it's clear that mining, it's about so much more than just digging up rocks.
Yeah. It's about people, the environment, global economics and politics.
And choices.
Exactly. The choices governments make, companies, and us as consumers.
We hope this deep dive give you a new perspective on Ghana and its gold rush.
This is just one story. In a global industry, mining happens all over the world, each place with its own challenges. So stay curious, stay informed, keep asking questions.
If this got you thinking, do some research. What questions do you have? What do you want to do? Let us know. We love hearing from you, and we might even share your thoughts in a future episode. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.